Greetings everyone, I'm Record2nd, and welcome to the things they missed in 21W10A, the 11th snapshot for Minecraft 1.17, the Caves and Cliffs update. Now this is not a full overview of the snapshot, but just a compilation of little things and details that a lot of people who showcase the snapshot might have missed, which I'm also not confirming to be the case, but either way it's a collection of little details that most people probably did not see. So, with that out of the way, let's just get into all the features. There's a lot happening here, and I wanted to say that everybody knows that they switched to a new OpenGL, which is 3.2, and it might sound like a big deal, but despite giving you more stuff to do with shaders, it really is not a very revolutionary change. It basically means that some people who have like literal potatoes will not be able to play Minecraft anymore, but this is still a very old version of OpenGL. It's pretty old by today's standards. So with that said, there are a couple funny bugs in this version. One of them I think is really funny. You literally cannot use the enchanting table at all. Now you can still get enchantments from loot, villagers, and anvils, but as far as the enchanting table itself goes, it doesn't even work in this version at all. So I thought that was kind of funny. And another thing that doesn't work is the lightning rod being waterlogged, which actually was in the changelog, and I'm pretty sure everybody pointed this out, but when there's an error in the changelog, I always make sure to put it in the video. So as you can tell, it doesn't actually work at all. So there's actually a new limit to the size of slimes that you can spawn. You can spawn slimes up to 128, which was before 64, and there's also a limit to the give command. Oh, a slime spawn when I said that was pretty funny. So the give command limit now will only allow up to 100 stacks. So if you give yourself 101 netherite access, for example, it'll not work. Or if you give yourself more than 6,400 blocks that are stackable, it's not gonna work either. So it's kind of like bundles. It works in stacks rather than the actual numbers. And another bug that was fixed is the sheep glowing. So a lot of the inner layers, or should I say the first layers of the mob models and textures were not glowing properly. So that was fixed. And also a very annoying bug was fixed with ghost smelting items. So if you smelted items before, you would realize that very often there's a ghost item, and that was very annoying. Finally fixed. And also I wanted to demonstrate, but again, this was fixed. So in the last version, when you place signs as your offhand, it would immediately close this window and you would not be able to type anything, which is good when you're making farms, but not good if you want to actually use it in your offhand and actually be able to type on the sign. And there's also a bug fix with the clear command. Before, it did not work on items that were put in the crafting grid, and now it actually will work on those items as well. And there was also a bug with the spawn point command, and it would crash the world if you respawned and the spawn point was set outside of the world bound. So beyond bedrock, and every time you respawned, when you have that respawn point, it would crash the world. That was fixed. Also, they fixed guardians attacking invisible axolotls, and bubble columns crashing worlds as well. If they were too high, because new world limit, if they were really high bubble columns, it was fixed. There's also new sounds in this version. Before, the glow item frame used the regular item frame sounds, but now it has its own sounds. Yeah, that's pretty much it for that feature. And they also fixed fossils floating. So before, if you played Sky Islands Worlds, you would see that there are a lot of floating fossils, depending if it was a swamp or a desert biome, and that no longer works. So they will have to be submerged in some kind of terrain, similar to a geode fix they did in the previous snapshot. They also fixed excessive noise from phantoms, as if they weren't annoying enough. They were making too much noise. Glad they fixed that one. And they also fixed structure blocks not working under y equals 0. So of course a lot of bugs still being fixed that are connected to the world height. So as you can see, I can actually use the structure blocks. They also fixed floating lava lakes. So before you would see lava lakes exposed in the new noise caves, now they have to be embedded into terrain. So if I go into spectator, I should probably see some lava lakes, and here's one, for example. This is a great example right here of such a thing. So yeah, that was fixed. And there's also 75% less cracks. If you remember, in the last snapshot they added a new carver called crack, and the crack carver was really common. So it's 1 out of 4 carvers from the last version is going to be generating in this version, which is a very decreased amount. So they also made it so there was less flooding on the surface because of the surface caves. You remember there were supposed to be cave entrances, but they're still flooded, even up to the latest versions in the noise cave generation. There's also a new icon for the item of the spyglass in your inventory, very similar to tridents when you have a 3D model but a 2D sprite for your inventory item. And they fixed an issue with the FOV in the water being decreased, because even if you had the FOV effects in your accessibility settings here turned all the way down, it would still apply the same effect of FOV closing in on you when you were underwater. So that was fixed. And they also fixed deep slate lapis ore not generating when it's supposed to. And now let's get into more deep slate stuff. Actually, there's a plenty. So the infested deep slate block actually makes stone block sounds. So not the new deep slate sounds. And the new deep slate block itself is interesting because it now has a rotation with axes. So there are 3 axes and it works the same as logs do. So let me demonstrate really quick. So as you can see, there are 3 different axes of this block, same as logs. So they work very similar to this type of block. And they also have random offset on the top texture. So when it generates, as you can see, it makes all kinds of unique patterns every time, so it's not going to look uniform. And they also returned back some of the recipes that were missing for the different building blocks from Deep Slate. But what I found is an inconsistency is that now all that stuff is crafted with cobbled Deep Slate instead of regular Deep Slate. And the issue with that is that we have the same thing going on with Blackstone, when there's stuff being crafted from Blackstone polished blocks, and they were called polished blackstone bricks and stuff like that. But it's not actually the case for this. So instead of saying cobbled deep slate stairs, cobbled deep slate brick stairs, it's just regular deep slate stairs, and that's a naming inconsistency more than a bug, but still it is considered an issue, I guess. So it could be reported on the bug tracker. So the cobbled deep slate actually now smelts back to regular deep slate, which is the same as it goes for cobblestone and regular stone. And let's finally get back into some of the lush cave stuff. So there's a bug with azalea trees actually generating underground, which is not, of course, supposed to happen. And these water pools that you see with drip leaf plants, they really remind me of the deltas in the basalt deltas. So I think this is the same type of generation going on here. But what I wanted to say is that sometimes it's really buggy, and if you go on underneath, you often run into these being exposed and the water is floating, not updated, and of course that's a bug. They also reduced the air exposure of coal, diamonds and gold, which means that they will generate more embedded into the terrain, not exposed or next to water, but not next to air. They also added smaller iron ore in deep slate, so there will be smaller iron blobs in this region of the world. And they also decreased the size of diamond veins, so before you would be able to find up to 8 diamonds, and in this version it's more up to 4 diamonds at best. But the veins of diamonds are more frequent. Overall, this means so that there are less diamonds in the world. So that was actually it for this snapshot. Kind of a lot of stuff, but again, just little features here. Of course, the lush biomes the lush caves are the big feature, but again, I only talk about little things that a lot of people probably didn't notice or didn't know about. So I hope you appreciate that, and if you do, then make sure to smash subscribe, ring my bell, and as always, stay.